The starship's hull creaked under the pressure of evasive maneuvers as Tyler gripped the controls, his knuckles turning pale. Alarms blared, signaling the approaching galactic police cruisers closing in. "Come on, baby," he muttered, patting the battered console. "Just a little more power." The ship jolted as a warning shot skimmed its shields. Tyler's thoughts raced, replaying the events that led to this cosmic chase. Just 12 hours earlier, he had been wrapped in silk and sheets with Princess Zara of the Centauri system, her shimmering skin glowing in the starlight. Their encounter had been electrifying, transcending the boundaries of species. But as dawn's first light broke, reality crashed in. "My wedding," Zara had gasped, her emerald eyes wide with fear. "My father will have your head." Now, as Tyler dodged another barrage of stun blasts, he couldn't help but smile. "Worth it," he chuckled, despite the dire situation. A proximity alert chimed, and Tyler's gaze shot to the navigation screen. An uncharted planet loomed ahead, swirling with ethereal blue clouds. It was his only chance. "Looks like we're going off-road," he muttered, plunging the ship into the planet's atmosphere. The hull ignited as they hurtled through layers of gas and vapor. Warning klaxons blared as systems failed one by one. Tyler gritted his teeth, fighting for control as the ground rushed up to meet them. With a bone-jarring impact, the ship crashed into a field of shimmering blue grass, skidding for what felt like miles, before finally coming to a halt. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the hiss of escaping coolant and the ringing in Tyler's ears. He took a shaky breath, running a hand through his tousled dark hair. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "that could have gone worse." Grabbing his emergency pack, Tyler opened the hatch and stumbled out into alien sunlight. The air was crisp and sweet, tinged with an otherworldly scent. In the distance, crystalline spires reached toward the sky, clearly some kind of settlement. "Right?" Tyler muttered. "Fine. Parts to fix the ship. Dow. Get out of here before the cops show up." He had barely taken 2 steps when a melodious voice halted him in his tracks. "You know most visitors prefer using the official spaceport, Tyler." His hand instinctively moved to his blaster, and his jaw dropped. Before him stood the most captivating woman he had ever seen, tall and graceful, with curves in all the right places. Her skin was a mesmerizing shade of azure, cascading waves of midnight blue hair framed delicate features, and her eyes sparkled like distant stars. Tyler stammered, momentarily speechless. He quickly recovered, flashing his most charming grin. "What can I say? I like to make an entrance." The woman arched an elegant eyebrow, the hint of a smile playing at her lips. "Indeed. And does this entrance have anything to do with the Galactic Police broadcast lighting up our comm channels?" Tyler winced. "Would you believe me if I said it was all a big misunderstanding?" She laughed, a sound like tinkling crystal. "Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm Freya, by the way." "Tyler," he replied, extending a hand. When she took it, a jolt of electricity seemed to pass between them. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the universe faded away. Freya broke the connection first, a faint blush darkening her cheeks to indigo. "So, Tyler of Earth, what brings you to our humble world of Eris?" He gestured ruefully at his smoking wreck of a ship. "Unscheduled maintenance, apparently. I don't suppose you know where I might find some spare parts?" Freya's eyes danced with amusement. "Oh, I might know a place or two, but first, perhaps we should get you out of sight before any, shall we say, overly enthusiastic law enforcement arrives?" Tyler grinned. "Lead the way, beautiful." As they made their way toward the glittering spires, neither noticed the small drone hovering high above, its lens zooming in on Tyler's face before zipping away to report to its galactic police masters. Freya guided Tyler through winding streets of luminescent crystal, past bustling market stalls filled with exotic wares and chattering blue-skinned locals. He tried not to stare, but everything was so alien and wondrous. "So," Freya said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I've heard interesting things about Earthlings and their flexibility." Tyler nearly tripped over his own feet. "Oh, what kind of things?" Freya's lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Oh, you know that humans can do it in any position?" He laughed. "Well, I wouldn't say any position. Some require pretty intense yoga training." "Yoga?" Freya tilted her head curiously. "Earth thing," Tyler explained. "Lots of stretching, bending, very limber." "Fascinating," Freya purred, her eyes roaming over him appreciatively. "Perhaps you could demonstrate sometime." Tyler's heart raced. Was she flirting? He decided to push his luck. "I'd be happy to give you a private lesson." Freya's laugh tinkled like wind chimes. My, aren't you bold?" Before Tyler could respond, a commotion erupted behind them. A squad of armored figures pushed through the crowd, scanning. "Galactic Police!" Freya hissed. "Quick, in here!" She pulled Tyler into a narrow alley, pressing him against the wall. Their bodies flushed together, faces inches apart. Tyler could feel the heat radiating off her skin, smell the intoxicating alien perfume. "Well," he murmured, "if you wanted to get me alone, you could have just asked." Freya rolled her eyes, but her lips quirked upward. "Hush, you incorrigible flirt. I'm trying to save your skin, my hero." Tyler grinned. They held their breath as the police passed by. Once the coast was clear, Freya stepped back, smoothing her clothing. "We should get you somewhere safe," she said. "I know just the place." As they continued through the city, Tyler couldn't help but notice how the locals deferred to Freya, bowing their heads respectfully as she passed. "You seem pretty well known around here," he observed. Freya waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, I get around. Now, tell me more about this scandalous incident that has the entire galactic police force after you." Tyler chuckled. "Let's just say I have a weakness for beautiful alien princesses." "Is that so?" Freya's eyes glittered dangerously. "And here I thought I might be special." "Oh, trust me," Tyler said, his voice low and husky. "You're in a league all your own." Their gazes locked, the air between them charged with unspoken possibilities. Freya broke the spell first, clearing her throat. "We're here," she announced, gesturing to an ornate building. "The Royal Gardens. We can lay low here for a while." Tyler whistled. "Fancy. You sure we're allowed?" Freya's smile was enigmatic. "Let's just say I have some pull with the management." As they entered the lush alien paradise filled with bioluminescent plants and floating orbs of water, Tyler marveled at his luck. Stranded on an alien world, pursued by the law, and in the company of the most captivating woman in the galaxy. What could possibly go wrong? Little did he know, Freya was asking herself the same question. As Queen of Yaris, she knew she was playing a dangerous game. But something about this roguish earthling called to her, awakening desires she'd long suppressed. For now, she would keep up the charade, but sooner or later truths would have to be revealed, and when they were, it would change everything. As they strolled deeper into the gardens, Tyler's hand brushed against Freya's. She didn't pull away. The galactic police cruiser landed at the spaceport, its engine winding down with a low whine. Captain Zorn, a grizzled veteran with cybernetic implants glinting in his temples, strode down the ramp. His artificial eye scanned the crowd, searching for any sign of their quarry. "Fan out!" he barked to a squad. "I want every inch of this rock searched." The Earthling can't have gotten far. As his team dispersed, a willowy Ebadorian official approached, bowing low. "Welcome to our world, Captain," she said, her voice melodious. "I am Lyra, Royal Liaison. How may we assist in your search?" Zorn grunted. "We're after a human male," goes by Tyler, "charged with interference in galactic diplomacy and fleeing justice. Seen anyone fitting that description?" Lyra's face remained impassive. "I'm afraid I haven't personally, but I will alert our security forces immediately. Might I inquire as to the nature of his interference?" The captain's scowl deepened. "Let's just say he got a little too friendly with a certain Centauri princess on the eve of an important political marriage." "How scandalous," Lyra murmured, her tone neutral. "Rest assured, Captain, we will do everything in our power to aid your search. Eris is a peaceful world, and we do not harbor criminals." As Zorn stomped off to coordinate the search, Lyra tapped a hidden communicator in her ear. "My queen," she whispered, "the situation has escalated. What are your orders?" Meanwhile, deep in the Royal Gardens, Tyler and Freya lounged beside a shimmering pool. Exotic fruits and sparkling beverages were spread before them on a hovering tray. "So," Tyler said, popping a star-shaped morsel into his mouth, "not that I'm complaining, but why exactly are you helping me? For all you know, I could be a dangerous criminal." Freya laughed, the sound like tinkling bells. "Oh, I'm quite certain you are dangerous, Tyler of Earth, just not in the way the galactic police believe." She leaned closer, her breath warm on his ear. "Besides, I find a little danger exciting." Tyler's heart raced. He turned to face her, their lips mere inches apart. "Is that so?" he murmured. Just as he was about to close the distance, a chime sounded from Freya's wrist device. She pulled back with a frustrated sigh. "Duty calls," she said cryptically. "Wait here. I won't be long." As she gracefully rose and strode away, Tyler couldn't help but admire the sway of her hips. There was something about Freya that both intrigued and unsettled him. She was clearly more than she appeared, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Shrugging, he helped himself to another fruit. Whatever her secrets, he was along for the ride now. Freya ducked into a secluded alcove, activating a holographic display. Lyra's worried face materialized. "Report," Freya commanded, all trace of playfulness gone from her voice. "The Galactic Police have arrived in force, my queen," Lyra said. "They're searching for the Earthling as we speak." "What are your orders?" Freya's mind raced. She knew she should turn Tyler in to avoid an interstellar incident. But something about him called to her, awakening long-dormant feelings. "Stall them," she decided. "Use every diplomatic trick in the book. I need more time." "As you wish, Your Majesty," Lyra bowed. "But please be careful. This dalliance could have serious consequences." The hologram flickered out, leaving Freya alone with her thoughts. She knew she was being reckless. But for once in her life, she didn't care. Tyler made her feel alive in a way she hadn't in centuries. Taking a deep breath, she schooled her features back into a carefree mask and returned to her guest. Tyler sprawled by the pool, his shirt discarded in the humid air. Freya's breath caught at the sight of his toned physique. "Everything all right?" he asked, propping himself up on his elbows. "Just fine," she purred, settling beside him. "Now where were we?" As their faces drew closer, the air thick with tension, neither noticed the small drone hovering just out of sight, its lens focused intently on the pair. Miles away in the Galactic Police Cruiser, Captain Zorn sat in stunned silence, his cybernetic eye processing the live feed. His expression hardened as he watched the Earthling move with an agility and flexibility he had never seen from a human. "What in the galaxy?" Zorn muttered, eyes wide with disbelief. He had seen many things during his long career, but nothing like this. The way Tyler moved, every motion fluid and calculated, his body responding to Freya with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. The captain's hands hovered over the controls, unsure whether to laugh or issue a command. This was entirely unexpected. On the screen, Freya was visibly taken aback as well. Her initial curiosity had given way to sheer amazement. Tyler's movements were so precise, so in tune with her own, that she found herself lost in the experience, surrendering to the moment. Her mind, usually sharp and calculating, was clouded by pure, unrestrained pleasure. This Earthling was not only dangerous in the ways she had imagined, but in ways she could never have predicted. Freya's body responded eagerly to his, her azure skin glowing brighter as her pulse quickened. Her breathing came in short, excited bursts, as Tyler's hands roamed over her, exploring every inch of her alien form. Each touch sent shivers down her spine, awakening long-dormant desires that no one in her world could satisfy. Zorn watched, transfixed, unable to tear his gaze from the display. He had expected a criminal to be running for his life, not engaging in such audacious behavior. But this wasn't just audacity. There was something mesmerizing about the way Tyler moved. Something that spoke of a deeper connection, a mastery of the human form that Zorn had never seen before. Freya was equally captivated. Her mind raced with thoughts of Tyler's unusual flexibility, his movements defying what she had come to expect from humans. Each shift of his body seemed to unlock new sensations within her. And for the first time in her long life, she felt completely out of control, and she loved it. The Queen of Etris, known for her poise and regal bearing, was now moaning softly under the starlight, her mind overwhelmed by the experience. Tyler, with his earthborn instincts and seemingly boundless physical capabilities, had taken control of the moment in a way that left her breathless, and all of it was captured by the drone, streaming directly to the shocked Captain Zorn, watching from his cruiser. Zorn shook his head in disbelief. This was not what he had signed up for. Still, part of him couldn't help but be impressed. What is it with these humans? He thought to himself. That level of control. That kind of connection. The scene played out in the gardens, Tyler's movements becoming even more fluid, his every action perfectly timed, his touch eliciting gasps from Freya that reverberated through the crystal structure surrounding them. He was pushing her to the very edge, taking her to places she hadn't imagined existed. Her body responded with a radiant glow, and her mind spun with thoughts she could barely comprehend. She had never experienced anything like this with any other species. There was something primal, something deeply intimate about what Tyler was offering. And Freya, the queen who had always been in control, was powerless to resist. As their bodies moved together in perfect harmony, the drone zoomed in, capturing every moment of this unexpected spectacle. Zorn, still glued to the screen, realized with a jolt that this wasn't just any ordinary fugitive. Tyler was something entirely different. The captain couldn't help but feel a strange mixture of envy and admiration. Tyler and Freya, lost in the moment, paid no mind to the surveillance, no longer aware of anything but each other. Freya's soft cries echoed through the garden as the two reached the height of their passion. The glowing plants surrounding them seemed to pulse in time with their movements, as if the very world around them was responding to their union. And as the final moments of their passionate encounter drew to a close, Freya collapsed against Tyler, her body trembling, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She had never felt so alive, so overwhelmed by sensation. Tyler held her close, his heartbeat steady, a calm smile playing on his lips. He had no regrets. Back on the cruiser, Captain Zorn exhaled slowly, shaking his head again in disbelief. The first light of Ikris's twin suns filtered through the luminescent foliage, casting a soft glow on the intertwined figures beneath. Tyler stirred, his arms still wrapped around Freya's azure form. The events of the previous night rushed back, bringing a smile to his face. Freya's eyes fluttered open, meeting his gaze. "Good morning, Earthling," she purred, stretching languidly. Tyler traced a finger along the curve of her hip. "Morning. Beautiful. Please tell me last night wasn't some crazy alien dream." She laughed, the sound like tinkling crystal. "Oh, it was very real, though I must say, those rumors about human flexibility were not exaggerated." He grinned, pulling her closer, happy to live up to the hype. "So what's on the agenda for today? More hiding from the space cops?" Freya's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Actually, I thought I might give you a proper tour of Ekris. That is, if you're up for an adventure. Lead the way, gorgeous." As they dressed and slipped out of the gardens, neither noticed the small drone hovering high above, its lens focused intently on their departure. Miles away in a nondescript building near the spaceport, Captain Zorn reviewed the footage with a scowl, his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the images. "Interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting indeed." His second-in-command, a lanky Arcturian named Vex, peered over his shoulder. "Sir, shall we move in and apprehend the fugitive?" Zorn hesitated, an unfamiliar feeling stirring in his chest. "No, not yet. Continue surveillance. I want to see where this goes." Vex's antennae twitched in confusion. "But sir, our orders." "I know our orders," Zorn snapped. "Just do as I say." As Vex scurried off, Zorn replayed the footage of Tyler and Freya's intimate encounter. He found his gaze lingering on the Earthling's form, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. "What are you hiding, Tyler of Earth?" he murmured. "And why do I suddenly want to find out firsthand?" Meanwhile, Freya led Tyler through the bustling streets of the capital. Hovercars zipped overhead, while street vendors hawked exotic wares and foods. "First stop," Freya announced, "the floating gardens of Lysandra." They boarded a crystalline elevator that shot upward at dizzying speed. As they broke through the cloud layer, Tyler's jaw dropped. Suspended in midair were massive platforms covered in lush vegetation and shimmering pools. "How is this possible?" he breathed. Freya smiled enigmatically. "Ancient Ecotan technology. Some say it was a gift from the gods themselves." As they strolled through the otherworldly paradise, Tyler found himself opening up to Freya in a way he never had before. "You know," he said, pausing to admire a floating orchid, "I never planned on being a galactic fugitive. Hell, I never planned much of anything." Freya tilted her head curiously. "What did you dream of back on Earth?" Tyler chuckled ruefully. "Honestly? Adventure, seeing the stars, finding something more." He met her gaze. "I think I might have found it." Freya's heart raced. but she forced a playful smile. My, is the legendary Tyler getting sentimental? He laughed, pulling her close. Don't tell anyone. I've got a reputation to maintain. As they kissed high above the world, Freya felt the weight of her crown more keenly than ever. Their next stop was the bioluminescent forest of Ningax. As night fell, the trees came alive with pulsing, multicolored light. Tyler and Freya wandered hand in hand, marveling at the display. It's like they're dancing, Tyler murmured. Freya nodded. The light patterns are actually a complex language. The trees are communicating. What are they saying? She listened for a moment, then smiled mischievously. Right now, they're gossiping about the handsome alien in their midst. Tyler grinned. Can't blame them. I am pretty irresistible. Freya rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. As they continued deeper into the forest, she felt a familiar buzz at her wrist. Another message from Lyra, no doubt, with updates on the Galactic Police's search. Everything okay? Tyler asked, noticing her distraction. Fine, Freya said quickly. Just remembering some work I need to catch up on. Tyler's brow furrowed. You know, you never did tell me what you do. Oh, this and that, she said evasively. Mostly diplomatic work. Before he could press further, she pulled him into a clearing where a blanket and picnic had been laid out. Surprise? She said. I thought we could use a midnight snack. As they feasted on exotic fruits and shimmering wine, Freya pushed aside her guilt. For now, she would simply enjoy this moment. The next day found them diving into the crystal seas. Freya led Tyler through an underwater metropolis, its buildings carved from living coral and bioluminescent algae. As they swam through a school of prismatic fish, Tyler marveled at how natural it felt to be with Freya. He'd always prided himself on never getting too attached. But something about her drew him in like a gravitational pull. Surfacing in a hidden grotto, they removed their breathing apparatus. Tyler pulled Freya close, water droplets glistening on her azure skin. You're incredible, you know that? He murmured. Freya's heart ached with the weight of her deception. Tyler, there's something I need to tell you. But before she could continue, a distant boom echoed through the cavern. Tyler's face paled. That sounded like galactic police ships entering the atmosphere. Freya finished grimly. We need to go now. As they raced back to the surface, Freya's mind whirled. She needed to get back to the palace to coordinate a response, but how could she do that without revealing her true identity to Tyler? Meanwhile in the capital, Captain Zorn barked orders to his team. I want a full perimeter established. No one gets on or off this rock without my say-so. But even as he coordinated the search, his thoughts kept drifting back to the footage of Tyler, the way he moved, the sound of his laugh. Zorn shook his head, trying to clear it. What was wrong with him? He was a decorated officer, not some lovesick teenager. Sir, Vex approached cautiously. We've received reports of the fugitive in the Crystal Seas region. Shall we move in? Zorn hesitated. No, not yet. Continue surveillance. I'll handle this personally. As Vex scurried off, confusion evident in his posture, Zorn made a decision. He needed to see Tyler face to face, to understand this strange pull he felt. And if that meant bending the rules a bit, well, he was already in uncharted territory. Back on the shore, Tyler and Freya caught their breath. The sound of engines could be heard in the distance, growing closer. We need to split up, Freya said, her voice tight. I have contacts who can help. Meet me at the Celestial Spire in 2 hours. Tyler grabbed her arm. Freya, what's going on? Who are you really? She met his gaze, conflict evident in her starry eyes. Tyler, But before she could finish, a galactic police cruiser crested the horizon. They dove for cover, but not before a scanner beam swept over them. Damn it! Tyler cursed. Housed. How did they find us so fast? Freya's expression hardened. Go! I'll draw them off. What? No, I can't let you. She silenced him with a fierce kiss. Trust me, she whispered. 2 hours. The Celestial Spire. Before he could argue, she was gone, sprinting down the beach. The cruiser veered to follow her, giving Tyler the opening he needed to slip away. As he made his way through the winding streets of the capital, dodging patrols and ducking into shadows, Tyler's mind raced. Who was Freya really? How did she have the resources to evade the galactic police? And why did he feel like he was falling for her, despite barely knowing her? Finally, he reached the base of the celestial spire, a towering structure of crystal and light that seemed to pierce the very sky. As he caught his breath, a familiar voice made him freeze. "Well, well, Tyler of Earth, we meet at last." He turned slowly to find Captain Zorn standing before him, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned him from head to toe. "Captain," Tyler said, forcing a casual grin. Lovely planet you've got here. The hospitality's been great." Zorn's organic eye narrowed. You've led us on quite a chase, Earthling, though I must admit I'm intrigued by what I've seen." Tyler's brow furrowed. There was something in the captain's tone, a hint of desire. Before he could process that unsettling thought, the ground trembled. A brilliant light erupted from the top of the celestial spire, bathing the city in an ethereal glow. Both men shielded their eyes as a figure descended from the apex, bathed in radiance. As the light faded, Tyler's jaw dropped. There stood Freya, resplendent in royal regalia, a crown of starlight upon her brow. "Captain Zorn," she said, her voice ringing with authority, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." Tyler's mind reeled. "Freya? What? Who are you?" She turned to him. Her eyes filled with a mixture of regret and determination. "I am Queen Freya of Edis," she declared, "and it's time we had a talk." As the implications of her words sank in, Tyler felt the ground shift beneath his feet. The woman he'd been falling for, the carefree spirit who'd shown him wonders beyond imagination, was royalty. Captain Zorn seemed equally stunned. "Your Majesty," he stammered, snapping into attention. We had no idea." Freya raised a hand. "At ease, Captain. This situation is more complex than it appears." She turned to Tyler, her expression softening. "I'm sorry for the deception. I needed to understand your true character, free from the constraints of protocol." Tyler's head spun. "So all of this was just some kind of test?" "No," Freya said quickly. "The connection between us was real. Is real." She took a step toward him. "Tyler! But before she could finish, a squad of galactic police burst onto the scene, weapons drawn. "Freeze!" the lead officer shouted. "Tyler of Earth, you're under arrest for interference in galactic diplomacy and fleeing justice." As the officers moved to apprehend him, Tyler's survival instincts kicked in. He dodged their grasp, using the moves he'd honed in countless bar fights across the galaxy. "Tyler, stop!" Freya cried. "I can explain everything." But it was too late. In the chaos, Tyler spotted an opening and ran, disappearing into the labyrinthine streets of the capital. Freya moved to follow, but Captain Zorn blocked her path. "Your Majesty, with all due respect, this is a matter for the Galactic Police now." She fixed him with a steely gaze. "Captain, there is far more at stake here than you realize. Tyler is not the criminal you believe him to be." Zorn hesitated, conflict evident in his expression. I'm not sure I know what to believe anymore." As the sounds of pursuit faded into the distance, Freya's heart ached. She had wanted to protect Tyler, to understand him. Instead, she might have lost him forever. But she was still a queen, and queens did not give up so easily. "Captain," she said, her voice ringing with royal authority, "gather your best officers. We have a fugitive to find, and a galactic misunderstanding to correct." As night fell over Eucharist, 3 souls grappled with unexpected emotions. Tyler on the run, and feeling betrayed by the woman he'd begun to love. Freya, torn between duty and desire, determined to make things right. And Captain Zorn, questioning everything he thought he knew about duty, justice, and his own heart. The chase was on, and the fate of more than just one planet hung in the balance. The neon-lit underbelly of Ekris pulsed with frenetic energy as Tyler weaved through crowded streets, his heart pounding in time with the distant thrum of pursuing hovercruisers. His mind raced, replaying Freya's revelation over and over. "A queen," he muttered, ducking into a shadowy alley. "I fell for a goddamn alien queen." The sting of betrayal mingled with the memory of Freya's touch, her laughter, the connection that had felt so real. Tyler shook his head, trying to clear it. He needed to focus on escape, on survival. But as he crouched behind a pile of discarded tech, catching his breath, a new thought wormed its way into his consciousness. What if it hadn't all been a lie? Meanwhile, in the gleaming spires of the royal palace, Queen Freya faced down her high council, their azure faces set in disapproving scowls. "Your Majesty," intoned Counselor Zix, his voice dripping with disdain. "This dalliance with a primitive species is beneath your station. The Earthling must be turned over to galactic authorities immediately." Freya's eyes flashed. "That primitive? Counselor, he has shown more wisdom and compassion than this entire chamber. I will not abandon him to satisfy your outdated prejudices." A murmur of shock rippled through the assembly. Freya took a steadying breath, then continued, her voice ringing with conviction. "For too long, Ekris has isolated itself from the wider galaxy. We've become stagnant, fearful. Tyler has shown me a new way forward, one of connection, of growth, of love that transcends boundaries." The counselors erupted in protest, but Freya silenced them with a raised hand. "I am your queen," she declared, "and I will fight for this love, for the future of our world, with every breath in my body." As the council chamber dissolved into chaos, Captain Zorn stood silent in the corner, his cybernetic eye whirring as he processed the scene. His gaze lingered on the fierce determination in Freya's stance, so reminiscent of Tyler's own defiant spirit. With a start, Zorn realized he'd made his decision long before entering this room. "Your Majesty," he said, stepping forward. All eyes turned to him. "I regret to inform you that the fugitive has evaded our pursuit." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Freya's eyes widened in surprise, then understanding. Counselor Zix sputtered in rage. "Impossible! Your incompetence is—" "Enough!" Freya's voice cracked like a whip. "Captain Zorn, I trust you will continue the search to the best of your abilities." Zorn bowed low, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. "Of course, Your Majesty. We will leave no stone unturned." As the council session adjourned in disarray, Freya caught Zorn's eye and nodded imperceptibly. A silent understanding passed between them. The game was afoot. In the depths of Eucris's sprawling marketplaces, Tyler bartered the last of his Earth trinkets for a battered communicator. He hesitated, finger hovering over the activation switch. Was he really considering this? Turning himself in, risking everything for a woman who'd lied to him from the start? But even as doubt gnawed at him, Tyler couldn't shake the memory of Freya's eyes in that final moment, filled with regret. Yes, but also something deeper, something real. "Ah, screw it," he muttered, punching in a code. "When have I ever played it safe?" Across the city in her private chambers, Freya's wrist comm chirped. Her heart leapt as she saw the origin of the signal. "Tyler!" she breathed. His voice came through tiny but unmistakable. "So, Your Majesty, got time for a chat with us lowly primitives?" Despite everything, Freya felt a smile tugging at her lips. "Always, you impossible man. Where are you?" Tyler TSKED. "First, I need some answers. Was any of it real, or was I just some ingratiating diversion for a bored royal?" Freya's voice softened. "Tyler, listen to me. Every moment we shared, every laugh, every touch, it was all real. More real than anything I've experienced in centuries of rule." There was a long pause. Then, "Centuries, huh? You're looking pretty good for your age, Blue." Freya let out a watery laugh. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Earthling. Now please, let me help you." Another pause weighed with decision. Finally, Tyler's voice came through, stripped of its usual bravado. "Okay," he said simply. "I'm at the old spaceport, docking bay 12. And Freya, I think I love you too." The connection cut off, leaving Freya breathless. She allowed herself one moment to savor the warmth blooming in her chest, then snapped into action. "Captain Zorn," she called, "prepare a discreet transport. We have a fugitive to retrieve." Hours later, as Ekris's twin moons rose over the horizon, the great council chamber buzzed with tension. Counselors muttered and shifted in their seats, shooting disapproving glances at the figure standing before the raised dais. Tyler stood tall, his hand intertwined with Freya's, facing down the assembled dignitaries with a mix of defiance and hope. Captain Zorn stood a few paces behind, his posture rigid but his organic eye gleaming with poorly concealed amusement. Counselor Zimix rose, his voice dripping with disdain. "This farce has gone on long enough, Your Majesty. I move that we turn this criminal over to galactic authorities immediately." A chorus of agreement rose from several counselors. Freya stepped forward, her chin held high. "Honored counselors," she began, her voice clear and strong. "I stand before you not just as your queen, but as a woman in love. Tyler has shown me a side of the universe I'd forgotten existed, one of passion, of adventure, of connections that transcend the boundaries we've built around ourselves." She squeezed Tyler's hand. "Here." He returned the gesture, drawing strength from her touch. "For too long," Freya continued, "Ekris has isolated itself from the wider galaxy. We've become complacent, afraid of change. But the universe is evolving, and we must evolve with it." Murmurs of dissent rippled through the chamber. Counselor Zix scoffed. Pretty words, Your Majesty, but they do not change the facts. This Earthling is a fugitive, a disruption to galactic order." Tyler stepped forward, his eyes blazing. "With all due respect, Counselor, the only thing I'm guilty of is falling in love with the most incredible woman in the universe. Blue skin, crown and all." He turned to address the entire council. "Look, I know I'm not what you expected for your queen. Hell, I'm not what I expected for myself. But Freya and I, what we have, it's real. And it could be the start of something amazing. Not just for us, but for all of Eurus." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices. Some counselors shouted in outrage, while others seemed swayed by the sincerity in Tyler's words. Suddenly a booming voice cut through the chaos. "Enough!" All eyes turned to Elder Vox, the most senior member of the council. The ancient Aryan hobbled forward, leaning heavily on his staff. A sly smile crept across Elder Vox's wizened features. "Bold words, but actions speak louder, do they not?" He turned to address the council. "I propose a test. If this Earthling can demonstrate the flexibility and creativity we've heard so much about, perhaps he is indeed worthy of our queen's hand." A shocked silence fell over the chamber, broken only by a few scandalized gasps. Tyler's eyes widened, a blush creeping up his neck. You want us to? Here? Now?" Freya squeezed his hand, a mischievous glint in her eye. "What's the matter, my love? Suddenly shy?" Tyler looked at her, saw the challenge and love shining in her starry eyes. A slow grin spread across his face. "Well then, Your Majesty," he purred, "shall we give them a show?" What followed was a display of acrobatic passion that would be whispered about in the halls of Edis for generations to come. Tyler and Freya moved together with a grace that defied physics, their bodies entwining in ways that left even the most conservative counselors slack-jawed in awe. As the impromptu performance reached its climax, a wave of multicolored light exploded from the lovers, washing over the assembled dignitaries. In that moment, something shifted in the very fabric of Adirian society. Counselor Zinix was the first to break the stunned silence. He stood, smoothing his robes with shaking hands. "I believe I speak for us all when I say welcome to Ephris, Tyler of Earth." A cheer erupted from the chamber, growing in volume, until it seemed the very crystals of the palace vibrated with joy. In the years that followed, Tyler and Freya's union became a symbol of a new era of galactic cooperation. The story of the Earthling who loved an alien queen spread across the stars, inspiring countless others to reach across the boundaries of species and culture. Eurus flourished, becoming a hub of interstellar diplomacy and cultural exchange. The royal couple's children, a rainbow of blue and pink, and every shade in between, became beloved figures embodying the best of both worlds. And what of Captain Zorn? He found his own happiness in the most unexpected of places, as Icarus's first ambassador to Earth, where he discovered a particular fondness for both human flexibility and their curious beverage called coffee. On a balcony high above the glittering capital, Tyler and Freya stood hand in hand, gazing out at the star-studded sky. Their hair was touched with silver now, but their eyes still held the same spark of adventure and love. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Tyler asked, pulling his wife close. Freya laughed, the sound as musical as the day they met. "Not in 1,000 years, my love, but I wouldn't change a moment of it now." As they shared a tender kiss, a shooting star blazed across the heavens, a reminder that in a universe of infinite possibilities, love would always find a way. As the starlight fades and our tale comes to a close, you might find yourself wondering, what's the moral here? What profound lesson should I take away from this cosmic romance? Well, dear listener, I'll let you in on a little secret. There isn't one. At least not one that fits neatly into a fortune cookie or a motivational poster. Life, love, and the vast expanse of the universe rarely conform to our expectations. Sometimes you set out to conquer the stars and end up conquering a queen's heart instead. Or maybe you're a highly advanced alien civilization and your fate gets derailed by a charming earthling with a knack for creative yoga poses. The point is, embrace the absurdity. Laugh in the face of galactic bureaucracy, and if you ever find yourself in a stuffy alien council chamber, remember, a little flexibility goes a long way. So go forth, you beautiful weird creatures. Flirt with an alien. Overthrow an outdated social norm or two. Who knows, you might just spark a revolution in interstellar relations. And if anyone asks where you got these ideas, just wink and say, "Oh, I heard it through the cosmic grapevine." Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date with a mysterious blue-skinned beauty. Or was it a nebula in this universe? It's getting harder to tell the difference. Stay curious, stay flexible, and always keep reaching for the stars. They might just reach back.